Hey guys, Virtus here and welcome back to the Unreal Engine 4 survival horror game series, and in today's video we're going to be continuing on with our inventory system. Having said that, we've got the basics for the system set up. However, what we need to do today is pretty much stop the item being picked up straight away, and we also need to change the offset so it doesn't fly off into the distance. So let me just go ahead and show you what's happening at the moment. Now, if you haven't watched the previous video, I definitely advise you go ahead and check it out so you can stay up to date with where we are. Also, I advise you check out the Unreal Engine 4 beginner tutorial series just so you can easily learn the basics of the engine and follow along. So at the moment with our spawning system, our item system, when you pick up an item, it goes into the inventory just fine. If I press Control, you can see the item's not going out and it's kind of trying to pick up the item straight away. So what we need to do is just do some last final touches to the inventory to actually get it all set up and working. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the offset on the actual pickup, well not the pickup, but the item that we drop, just so that it isn't so far away and so that we can actually see it. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my HUD widget, which is where we have all of the functionality set up already. All of this is going to be in the graph. Now, the reason we put it in here is so we can easily interact with like the buttons. So what I'm going to do here is I'm essentially just going to change the offset values. Now, I can't remember if I set these values myself in one of the tutorials, but what we're trying to go for, if we want it to be, just below the player, at his feet, is something like 50 and then 0, 50, then 35. So if I compile this, close it up, press play, and go and drop an item now. So I'm going to press Control to discard, and then if I drop the item, it should be at my feet. Now, the trouble is, at the moment, the inventory is full, so you can't actually see it, but they are spawning there. So they are spawning there, but the trouble is the inventory is full. We don't want it to pick up the item straight away. So what we need to do now is we need to set up a little delay whereby, once we actually drop the item, it can't actually be picked up for the first 3 seconds. Also, what we need to do is add the functionality for when we drop an item, it actually clears the slot. So we're going to clear the slot, and then we're going to set up the delay afterwards. So to clear the slot, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the HUD widget stuff, and I'm going to go into my graph, and I'm going to go into the end of the spawn actor sequence, and I'm just going to quickly cast to the third person character, which is where we actually store the slot information. I'm just going to use cast to, and then I'm going to type in get player character here as well, and we're just going to pretty much set the slot down to 0. And because we're working with the first slot here, so for the first button, we are going to just set it down to 0, and we're going to make sure it's a slot 1 item, variable that we're changing. So let's go ahead and give that a go now. So hopefully when we click it, the icon should actually go white. So if we go ahead and collect it, press Control to discard, give it a little click, and it's gone white until we pick it up again. So let's go and pick this up. There we are, and if we drop it again, it's working just fine. So the first thing that we need to do now is we need to set up that little delay, and the delay is actually going to be inside of the item pickup. And what we're going to do is we're just going to add some little script to begin play stuff so that when it begins to play, it sets off a little delay, and that delay is going to be 3 seconds. It's going to type in delay 3 seconds. Now, we actually need to work on some conditioning so that we can actually make the pickup, only be picked up if, those 3 seconds have completed. So after begin play and the 3 seconds, we need to turn a variable, a boolean, to true from false, so then we can run a little check to see whether or not it's true. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to create a variable to start with, and I'm just going to call this can pick up, just like that. And with this, I'm going to drag it out, and I'm going to just use a set node to make sure that it's true after the 3 seconds. Also, I'm going to make sure the can pick up node is by default, false or untrue. So that's all good. So now what I need to do is from the actual pickup bit, the overlap, whenever the player overlaps it, I'm going to get it to check whether or not the can pickup is actually true. And if it is, it's going to continue to do what it's supposed to do. If not, it's not going to do anything, and we're just going to keep walking over it, and it's not going to go straight into the inventory. So let's go ahead and give this a go. So if I press control now to discard the item, it should be at the player's feet, and for the first 3 seconds we can't pick it up, and it seems to be working very well for us. So if I go ahead and drop it again, you can see it's at the player feet, and that's great. So there is one last thing that I wanted to do in today's episode, and that is to simply stop the camera moving whenever you're discarding the item, because you can see it kind of goes all over the place. So what I need to do then is I need to go into my third person character, wherever I've actually got my discarding stuff set up. So I'm going to quickly find that. So that's my flashlight. Can't remember what this is. You know what, I haven't made a video in about a month, so I have absolutely no idea where I put it, but it shouldn't take too long. So that's my sprinting script, that's my discard script at the top. Okay, that's perfect. So what I need to do is just cast to the third person, or cast to the player controller, and what I'm going to do is I'm essentially just going to disable, player movement. And the way I'm going to do that is, so let me just give this a go. So get player movement, set UI mode. Yep, there we go, set input UI mode only, that's what we need to do. So get rid of the cast to stuff and just chuck this in here, and the target is going to be get player controller, and there we are, and just press compile, and let's give that a go to see whether or not it locks now. So there seems to be an error, not too sure why. So you don't need dynamic cast, blah 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 blah. Okay, that's fine. So let's just give that a go and see what happens. So if I press control, it's stopping the input, and we can discard as normal. So that's perfect. So what we need to do now is we just need to set this back, when they come out of the mode. So the second line of the sequence here. So let's go ahead and do that. Set input mode, and that's just going to be the opposite, and this time it's going to be game and UI. And once again, just hook up the target to get player controller, press compile, and let's give this a go. So by default everything seems to be working. I'm going to pick up an item, I'm going to press control to discard, I'm going to click it, press control again to get out of it, and it doesn't seem to be working. So we need to figure out why it's not working. So let's go ahead and open this up again. And target should be alright by the looks of things. Let's go ahead and change this to game only. Maybe this will work. So let's hook this up. Okay, so I think the reason why it may not be working is simply because it's not going to capture the inputs like the control key when you're in UI only. So we're going to have to figure out another way of doing it, but for now I'm just going to quickly give this a go to see what happens. So press control once and it's still locked up. So it's just not capturing the control key, so we need to figure out a way to, change this. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to set a delay on the discarding mode, so you have like 10 seconds to actually discard the items that you want to. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to make sure I've still got my get player controller on here, just so the first bit works. Get player controller, there we are. Gonna hook this up to the target, and and after this I'm just gonna do a quick delay, and we're gonna set this delay to about 5 seconds. That should be way more than enough. And after that, what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to set input into game and UI, how it should be, and then we're just going to set, take discarding off basically. So I'm going to chuck it all the way back here, just like that, and it should be working just fine for us. So let's give that a go. So, press compile, let's give this a go, see what happens. So press play, press control once, give it 5 seconds, and it should hopefully unlock any second now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it's still not working, which is a little bit odd. Let's open it up. and see what's going on. So I simply didn't hook up the get player controller there. When you're making your code, you've got to be very careful to make sure, your target is actually selected. So now, if I press Control, it's going to freeze, the player movement, and after 5 seconds, you can start to move again, and it's working all fine and dandy. So there is one last change that I need to make here, and I'm going to make sure it's game only instead of game and UI. The reason for that being is that I couldn't actually move the camera, which is a little bit odd. So set input, game only, and then if we just hook this up, it should work out for us. So compile, press play, and let's give this a go. So press Control, I can't make any inputs to the game. I can still discard though, and then when we do go back, it's all good. You can see the mouse cursor is actually still being displayed, so that is one other issue that we need to fix. So what we need to do is we essentially just need to, let's have a look at this. So show mouse cursor. We just need to grab this stuff basically. Well, not just grab it, just go all the way to the beginning here, just hook those up, and then it'll, get rid of the mouse cursor and all the other stuff that we told it to. So let's go ahead and give that a go. Hopefully now everything should work out for us. So press Control the first time. We can't move, we can still discard, that's working fine. After a couple of seconds, the mouse cursor goes and we're back to normal. So let's quickly try pick up an item to make sure it works. So I've got it in my inventory, I'm going to press Control. And, I can't move the player at all. One thing you need to do, though, is, when the player is actually moving, if you stop doing it while you're holding down a button, it's going to keep moving you in that direction. But for now, everything seems to be working fine, and we can fix that issue at a later date. But you can see the pickup item is now on the floor. So that's pretty much everything for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope your inventory system is looking a little bit better now that we've got the main functionality down. There is only one last bit that we need to do for the inventory, and that is simply going to be setting images for the different items, creating the different items, and that is pretty much it. And then we're going to keep on working on some actual gameplay, some storyline stuff, and a few other bits and bobs. So thanks for watching, comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.